Not for a singular second did I think that my Doctor Who coverage, or at least the fallout from the Doctor Who episodes, would end up eliciting such a strong response from people. But 2023 has been absolutely wild. But the thing that I personally take away from that stuff is that the desecration of long-beloved franchises, hell, just the fall-off in media in general, it's a universal language. People understand, even if you're not fond of the franchise itself. Doctor Who it's kind of a niche thing, right? Unless you're over in the UK, then it's as mainstream gets. But in the rest of the Western world, it's one of those things where it's, yeah, you know, it has certain respect, but fans are generally few and far between that actually watch the product. But not unlike Marvel, not unlike Star Wars, it's going through some tough times, very tough times, and we've seen that crystallized with the 60th anniversary special, which, well, it was basically 3 episodes of trite propaganda, inane mundanity, and a baffling bait and switch that promised one thing and delivered another. So while I'm incredibly shocked but very grateful that people have decided to click on my videos on this subject, I understand where you guys are coming from, and somebody else who does as well is the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Now, his tenure back in 2005, reviving, being the face of the revival of Doctor Who after its 15-year-long hiatus, his tenure with the franchise has always been, it was one of those things where people would look back on it, it's like, wow, he was the perfect face, he was the perfect guy at the time to bring it all back, and then when everything went sideways after 1 year, it's like, what ended up happening there? There's been a lot of back and forth in the media, and of course there are numerous stories, and Christopher Eccleston, for as much damage he has done with the audience in previous years, he is not completely innocent in all of this stuff. He raises a very interesting point because, well, his hasty dismissal always came down to, at least what the common through line for all of the rumors that are out there, because there's nothing concrete between what ended up happening with him and the higher ups, but he had always attributed one of the biggest reasons for him not getting along with all of the higher ups. He has nothing but love for the people that were actually working on the project. It's just he clashed with the BBC and the head writer, which is now the current writer, ergo why his comments are starting to make the rounds. Former Doctor Who actor Christopher Eccleston will return to the role on one condition. The BBC sacks as showrunner Russell T Davies. Oh, and a bunch of other people as well, and we got the clip. Speaking on a recent panel alongside Billie Piper, whom Eccleston starred within Doctor Who 2005 reboot, he was asked about reprising his much-loved character, the 9th Doctor. There's a picture of the two right there, obviously. And that's, when I hear about Doctor Who, and before I started to get much more accustomed with the franchise up here in Canada with our government-run broadcaster, the logo that he had that kind of looked like it was on Silver Surfer's rusted surfboard, that said Doctor Who and all that stuff, that was always going around on CBC, so I was always aware of this, and he was the guy who I always associated with Doctor Who. I know it's weird, right? But personal anecdote aside, his answer was direct, and instead of me reading that off, we might as well go to the clip itself, and he's looking, well, let's just say, man, time has definitely passed for Chris, but as for Billie, man, she's looking like real good, pause. She doesn't look all that dissimilar than she did back in the cut, but let's hear the response, because the previous question, obviously, you guys heard, what would it take for you to reprise your 9th Doctor, join up with another anniversary special or something like that? Not like the most recent one, but like the 50th one. The 50th anniversary that was like super successful, that brought back old Doctors instead of just tried to shoehorn in the whole bi-generation concept and all that crap. And also like the 50th anniversary, something that people actually watched in totality. 12 million people turned out for that one, not languishing with like 4 million people following on at the end. But let's hear what Chris had to say.
You'd all love to see Christopher come back as the Doctor, right? See? Now, what would have to happen?
Now, I don't know what this panel was. I'm not entirely sure of the context, but they're both up there, obviously. Okay, so you got the doctor and his companion. You would imagine that this question was going to be coming, and I don't know how many people are in the audience, but it's a good reaction because, well, outside of the one singular season, he's never ever come back. Of course, he's also marketed himself at multiple cons as being the Ninth Doctor and all that stuff, so he has love for the role, just not for the production house.
For that to become a reality.
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back.
Get rid of everybody. And listen to the stunned silence or the, like, oh wow, he's actually gonna say that from the audience.
So can you arrange that?
But,
Did you find it hard to be like a
Yo, and Billy just being like, you're not supposed to say that part out loud, but all right, obviously you don't care, all right?
associated with the character given?
Not at all. I love being associated with the character. Just don't like being associated with those people and the politics that went on in the first series.
Now, he's talking the first series, obviously. You know, the first season reboot, that'd be the way that the rest of the Western world refers to episodic television. So when he says series, he means season. And talking about politics, ooh, that's very interesting because that was a big criticism of the 60th anniversary specials, the ones that Russell T Davies came back and started to write. And then you also take a look at some of his other comments from way back in the day, post him leaving Doctor Who, everything else that he's doing, and then in the lead up of him returning as the showrunner, and politics is a big through line with all of that stuff, including something that's kind of hilarious that he was just immediately hypocritical about. He didn't, Russell T Davies talking about here, he didn't want to have non-gay actors play gay roles. What did he end up doing with David Tennant? Well, I guess he's a strong enough ally because in the second, what was that? Wild Blue Yonder, right? The second episode where it ended up coming out, and somebody that we're going to be talking about very shortly, how the 10th Doctor, 14th Doctor this time around, David Tennant, found Black Isaac Newton very hot, and then it was confirmed that he was gay, sort of, or at least had those inclinations, but David Tennant, with his wife and family, unless, of course, he has something to reveal, but his time as the Doctor is passed on that one. So politics, overly political about a Time Lord? No, couldn't possibly be current year.
The first series was a mess, and it wasn't to do with me or Billy. It was to do with the people who were supposed to make it, and it was a mess.
She almost looks like, I would love to see the rest of that clip right there because, okay, the way that she just looks over at the end and it goes, yeah, kind of, he's not wrong. The man's got a point. The man's got a point. Shout out to Star Wars Scrawn for clipping that out. Somebody asks, does anyone know what happened between him and RTD and the others? I somehow never knew about this. I'm not entirely certain. I was in an interview with him saying the BBC told lies about him in the media. Yeah, that's been a lot of the scuttle. There's never been a clear reason as to why everything went to shit in 2005, but that's what it is. So background information, actually from a Doctor Who panel at a Comic-Con this year. Not too sure which one, but it really doesn't much matter, man, because the man's said what he said, and he said it with his chest. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because Ncuti Gatwa, the 15th Doctor's first full outing, is going to be live in prime time on Christmas Day. I'll be looking for those overnights, seeing what ultimately ends up happening, and I think anything short of like 8 million viewers, it's obvious, like, it's not going to touch the tens that the previous in 2017 ended up hitting, but if it doesn't end up doing probably better than the 60th anniversary, because the first one was somewhere in the realm of 7.5, which was a little bit better than some of the doldrums of Jodie Whittaker's run. Like, if it's not a 7 or an 8 million overnights for the first outing for the Doctor and a Christmas special, it's done. It's dusted. So the BBC might end up looking for another helping hand out there. Hey, Matt Smith, can you stop being an international movie star? Can you stop with your super successful run as Daemon Targaryen with House of the Dragon and come back and help us out? No? Okay, well, David Tennant didn't end up working out, and nobody likes Jodie Whittaker, and, well, not as bad as Christopher Eccleston. Peter Capaldi's not necessarily on good terms with everybody else that's down there. So, could we go ahead and throw this super Hail Mary and get back Christopher Eccleston? Could we patch things over? Can we get to the bottom of this stuff? No. You know what the BBC's far more concerned about? Fighting more racist bigots that are out there. Oh my God, do you want to further drive people away? Because for I forget how long, okay, for the years that Jodie Whittaker was there, what was their defense as ratings were falling through the floor, as longtime fans were getting pissed off by the creative decisions of Chris Chibnall and the BBC in general? No, okay, everybody who criticizes us, la 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 la, you're all just sexist, racist bigots, la 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 la. Now they're just gonna go ahead and do the exact same shit. Now they can just go ahead and say that you're just simply being homophobic instead of sexist. Doctor Who's casting director responds to criticism of race-swapped Isaac Newton. It's sad that we're in a time when people villainize minorities. No, man, we understand, okay? If you wanted to be honest about this stuff, and that's what people in 2023 and moving forward, they just want authenticity, man. Listen, we know that the BBC has certain diversity quotas. If you wanted to tell an alternate history where Black Isaac Newton or Indian Isaac Newton was a thing, you could have done that. But you're not going to be honest about that. You wanted to go ahead and portray Isaac Newton, who's well pictured throughout the years. He's as toasty, crispy white as you can possibly get. And if you're purposefully going to be making note of the fact that this is England in 1666, not a lot of black people. There's not a lot of people of color that are around. So if you wanted to ham fist in some diversity in an episode that is ostensibly about clones of the two main characters, I understand you're in a pickle. And that kind of speaks more to those stupid diversity quotas. Instead of trying to tell a nice, coherent, scandal-free story, you end up having to just interject a message in order to run defense for it. Because nobody's talking about the second episode anymore. It was gone as quickly as it arrived. Nobody's going to be going back and going, wow, I'm so glad they did all of those practical effects. And boy, that was really creepy when the clones got bigger. Ooh. No, people are just going to look back over this 60th anniversary series of duds, focus a lot on the first one, wonder what the fuck the story with the bi-generation is, and then really mark it down as the moment where it was confirmed to everybody, because there was a lot of points where during the Jodie Whittaker run, specifically in on and around the Timeless Children, where longtime fans just were like, that shit's dead, man. It's time to fucking bounce on this one. They were willing to give the female doctor a try, but then when it all became about her being a female, everybody was deuces. And then giving it a chance once again because of the Dream Team was coming back, not realizing that this would be the most brutal desecration of a franchise ever. You've driven everybody off. So that's why I'm just going to be looking and wondering what is going to be left for the 15th Doctor. Well, I think we have a little bit of insight on that one. You don't like it because you're racist. It's not because we are completely and totally out of ideas and stage 4 victims of the woke mind virus. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.